Good afternoon. Hey, Armando.
Hello.
How you doing?
I'm all right.
Good. Did you have a good lunch?
Yeah.
Okay.
Chicken soup and rice.
Oh, okay.
Homemade.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I've got a big pot of oyster stew on the stove right now.
Oh,
Real
that's
low. Yeah. Are you have you eaten oyster stew before?
Yeah, I used to eat it raw when I was young. Oyster
Oh,
cocktail.
yeah, the oysters. Yeah. Okay. But have you ever had it in like a stew?
Not exactly,
Okay.
but I have been eating stuff that had oyster. I used to have a friend also. He used to make the dressing on Thanksgiving with oyster in it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, this is kind of like a New England dish. You know, it's for winter days. You know, when it's cold, it's kind of hearty and sticks to your ribs.
Yes.
Yeah, good stuff.
Yeah.
Anyway, we'll see how it turns out. It's got a few hours to go. Anyway, how's everybody doing?
Hanging in there.
Okay.
Here. Hey,
Let's
Bob.
see.
Hello.
Yeah, we got most of you muted. Let's fix that. Let's unmute everybody. That way we can at least say hello and be social.
Hello.
Hey.
Hello.
Hello.
Hey,
Sorry.
Veronica.
All right.
How are you?
I wish you covered up your hair. I don't know what you did with it.
Oh,
You cut it off.
yeah.
No.
It's braided, Armando.
Um,
There
You
you
know, that's all. And so I covered it up. I know you're used to all the curls.
yes. I haven't seen no more Linda. What happened with Linda?
I talked to her the other day. She's been a bit busy, you know. I guess well, you know, her and Billy, they sit on the board of what is it? It's the like senior living facility, Vernon Woods.
Yeah, he's in the
Yeah.
book of that. Yes.
Yeah, I guess they've been busy trying to, you know, get that place rented, you know. I guess they have a few openings over there. So if you know anybody who wants to, you know, live over there on Vernon Woods Drive, you know, reach out to her, because they've got some openings from what I understand. Anyway, is everybody doing all right?
Yes.
Good, yeah.
Good.
Hunt Cliff at Sunrise could use a few more people too.
Yeah, yeah. I'm sure a lot of those places right now are you know, probably in need of a few people
Right.
to move in. So yeah, there might be some good deals out there. Who knows? Yeah, I'm not headed that direction. I'm going to Alabama.
Boy, you're very fortunate you're younger yet.
Yeah, for now. So anyway,
That's true. That's true.
yeah, we're all headed that direction though. Anyway,
I'm
we're gonna
all
get
right.
started here. You guys sent in some work, and wanted to share that with you. So we're gonna start looking at some of the artwork you sent in, and if we run out of artwork, which I doubt, then I've got somebody to introduce you to, somebody to show you. And I've got a project that I've been working on that I'll talk to you about as well. So anyway, we'll get started with you guys first since you're here. And the other day I started at the bottom with Wanda. So today I'll start, you know, up at the top and work my way down. This is something that Azam had sent in last week. I wonder if she's here. Azam, are you around? I don't see her. Yeah, no. Anyway, you know, she sent in 3 pieces. They're sort of these fashion sort of looking, you know, oil paintings. They're kind of stylized. Some of them are more finished than others. And I won't really go much in depth on them. You know, this one still looks pretty early on. she put in a basic underpainting just to get the composition. And it looks like she started laying some color down, but not a lot. She's got a little more paint on this one. And, you know, to what degree, you know, she's wanting to take these, you know, to a more finished look, you know, I'm not really sure. So,
Look to
well,
me like it's the same person,
yeah.
same model.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, you know, they're all kind of stylized. You know, I think that's just kind of a general, you know, an idea. I don't know that she was working from a live model or from photo reference or anything like that.
Hey, that's kind of loud.
Pardon? Bernice, was that you?
She said to look at the lady's mouth.
Oh, mm-hmm. Yeah, like I said, yeah. And I'm not sure how big these are either. They may be fairly small, you know. But the brushwork on them is real loose right now, and you know, the color isn't modeled very much. It's kind of raw, kind of direct. So we'll wait till she's here, and we'll ask her some questions, and we'll take a look at it from there. Now Bernice sent me this, and I'm like, that looks really familiar, and and it was. This is Lily Estrada, who we talked about earlier this week. And this is Bernice's rendition of it. Now, Bernice, tell us a little bit about this.
I always talk about how I can't paint, and I thought, let me just try painting faster. So when I saw it, I just said, let me just throw the paint on and see how it's out.
Okay.
And I thought, well, maybe I should start there and see if I can get better and better by just putting the paint down and not worrying so much about accuracy.
Well, yeah, and there's a lot of value in that. Now, are you using acrylic?
Yes.
Okay, so it dries pretty quickly. So, you know, if you're going to be doing that, then I would encourage you, A, don't water down your paint. Don't add water to it. Just use the straight paint. And number two is put a lot more paint on.
Really?
Yeah, lay more paint down on the
I thought it was too dark.
well, it is in some areas, the values, you know, and we're going to talk about that. But my first comment is get more paint down on the canvas, you know, and don't hold back, you know, don't try to use just a little bit. Go ahead and put, you know, good, you know, solid blocks down there. And then once you, let's say that you masked in this area with a gray, right? Then you would be able to go back in with other color and work into, you know, different areas and model it. And the paint would move around for you because it would still be wet. And you could work pretty quickly to get some color and stuff in there. And then, you know, you can move to the next area, the next area, the next area, you know, and kind of work like that. But what you would get from doing that is you get more paint on the surface, so you cover up the canvas, and it doesn't look, you know, kind of tentative. It looks intentional.
Look painted rather than tinted.
Right. So yeah, always, you know, always err on the side of putting more paint on than less. Okay.
Okay.
And how big was this?
It's small. It's about I think it's 8 by 8.
Okay. Yeah, it's square.
It's
Yeah.
square, yes.
Yeah, and one of the things with you know, a landscape like this, now, well, let's take a look, see what she did. It's cropped a little differently, and she did kind of.
Yeah, mine is kind of switched in from left to right.
Well, yeah, it's a different format, you know. So you see, hers is much more horizontal. Yours is more square, and so yeah, so the proportions change quite a bit. But what I was going to say is, you know, as it moves to the bottom, you see how she just kind of stopped. She didn't go all the way to the edge. you know, on a lot of this,
Mm-hmm.
and you just let it kind of fade into the paper.
Mm-hmm.
You could, you know, you could do something similar, right? You kind of drew a line here or something and then kind of stopped at that line. You know, and just let the color, you know, run on down, you know, below that. Keep it kind of loose, you know, as it moves to the bottom. For one thing, it would stop you from setting up this kind of harder edge, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it would kind of move forward, you know, into the foreground and give you a little more depth and distance in there. But you know, for a quick painting, you know, just to, you know, get something down there pretty good. You know, you've got your shapes and proportions and things pretty well. The main thing here is just, you know, values.
Yeah.
And
more.
yeah, and working in acrylic. You know, if you haven't worked in acrylic for a long time, just count on everything drying darker by about 2 values.
Okay.
Oh, wow.
So it's like when you put the color down, you know, just know that it's going to get darker. And so that means that you know, if you want something that's light or mid-tone, you really have to mix it so it looks really light. And then once you put it down there and it dries, it kind of, you know, dries back to, you know, a mid-tone or whatever you want there.
Let me ask something before you move on.
Sure.
And that is, how late can you send an email to you? Because I thought I sent you something about 1:20 and it didn't get in.
Well, what did you send?
It was a picture. It was a picture of my rainbow that I added some more stuff to.
Right. Yeah, I got that.
Oh, you did? Okay.
Yeah, it's not in this mix yet because I just downloaded it to the desktop. But yeah,
Oh, okay.
just before we went on. But yeah, I got it.
Okay.
I got that. I got this, and I got something else from you too. You know, there was about four or five different things that you sent. But yeah, we'll get around to those. Just
Okay.
yeah, be patient. We're gonna get there.
All right.
Okay. Okay. So we got.
You gotta be patient.
Yeah.
Yeah, if we go off on other subjects, we'll get there.
Yeah. Sometimes. Yeah. Anyway, so this is Bob, and Bob was playing with his airbrush, and Bob, where are you?
I'm here.
Okay. So I got a question for you, because
Absolutely.
you got this black background in there, and that
Right.
looks like it was put down with a paintbrush.
It was, sadly. No, yes, it
Sadly.
was.
Okay.
And well, my acrylic was a little thick also,
Mm-hmm.
which kind of let it get kind of multi
Right.
colored.
Yeah. When you're doing airbrush and you're doing it over a painted surface, any of those irregularities and imperfections are going to show up.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I learned something.
Yeah, it brings all that stuff out, because that mist, that real fine dust, and you don't even see it, but you know the air hits that surface with the paint, and some of it is so atomized, it just sort of spreads. And as it does, it kind of settles on any of those, you know, uneven areas, and will, you know, sort of enhance them. So you really want to work on, you know, if you're going to lay in a background and then airbrush on top of it, you really want to try to lay it in nice and smooth. Okay.
Well, say education is a wonderful thing.
It is. It is. And yes, yeah. And you know, that's how you learn. Okay.
That's right.
Yeah. Now, the great news, though, is that, you know, if you wanted to, you could mix up some black paint, and you could come in here and, you know, basically, you know, work in this area and lay another layer or two, you know, and just stay away from, you know, the main area here. And you know, you could actually come back in and sharpen some of these edges by using a brush and cutting in, you know, with the black, and then go back in and just redo your stars, you know, and stuff, you know, here and there. But yeah, you know,
Go ahead. I'm sorry.
yeah, in laying down any kind of background surface, you know, unless you're really just wanting to use the color as a base for a tone that you're going to build on top of, you know, usually you're going to have to hit that, you know, 3 or 4 times. You know, very seldom can you do just kind of a one, you know, pass and let it go, because the paint isn't going to go down perfectly even that way. And again, you know, when you're laying paint down, whether it's with a brush, with an air gun, anything else, you know, change your direction. You know, it's like each passage, change your direction just slightly. You know, don't keep working just horizontally, and don't go horizontal and then vertical. You know, it's like go horizontal, then turn it, you know, 15, 20 degrees after that layer dries and go back over it, and then, you know, change it again. And if you do that for, you know, 3 or 4 times, that's going to help you get a smoother, flatter, you know, more uniform surface, you know, to work on. Okay.
I have a question.
Yeah.
Hey, Bob, how did you make, I've never done airbrushing and don't know anything about it. So how did you do the stars? You just squirt it? And,
Yep.
Oh, okay.
But basically, well, they tell you a couple different ways. Basically, you can hold the gun right up next to the surface and just touch it, and you get a little squirt. But there's also what they call a splatter method, that basically you hold like a stick, a tongue depressor or something like that up, and you spray your paint on that at an angle, so it kind of flares out and makes the little tiny marks. So, but what I was going to say is this morning I was looking at something that would be right up Naomi's tree, and there was something called Bold School, and basically the lady was doing the kind of stuff that Naomi does, but she was given some instruction on how to do it, and bright colors, and you know, how you're using different colors. She was using warm colors as shadows and cool colors as the where the light was coming in, just for contrast. And it was really fascinating little bit, but I thought that was kind of interesting.
I saw that too, and I signed up for it because
Oh,
I like Naomi's method of thinking too.
Yeah.
What
Now
was the name of it?
was that working with a hairbrush?
No, this is just, I believe she's working in acrylics, I believe.
Oh, just
Bold.
but
It wasn't Bold Brothers, Bold something else.
It's called
What was her
Bold
name?
School.
Bold School?
BOLDSCHOOL School.
Mhm.
Please, can you repeat that again, please?
Bold, BOLD, School,
OBLD.
SCHOOL school.com.
And was that on you?
Oldschool.com.
Yes.
No, that's her old website.
Oh, okay. All right. So it's not on YouTube.
It may be.
Yeah,
I did
it popped-
not look.
Mhm.
I saw it pop up on YouTube.
Oh, did
as
you?
a
Okay.
commercial.
Okay. All right.
I have a question as well.
Okay.
What was your inspiration for this painting?
Well, I was looking at a YouTube video, and the guy was doing spacey kind of things. So I said, well, that looked, I mean, it was a beginner's kind of a project. So I said, well, we'll start with that. And I cut out my own stencils and made those, and then the edge of the clouds using various kind of materials, like the edge of paper towels and just various things to give you that softer effect around the edges of the cloud there. So, you know, just practicing or trying to use those kind of things to try to learn some more.
Mm-hmm.
Really
It
nice.
looks good. It reminds me of the Milky Way a little bit.
Yeah, like a nebula, right?
Yeah, right. Yeah,
Yeah.
something like that.
Yeah. So did you use a paper towel on that to block
I
off part of it?
I used a paper towel, and then I cut out just a real random stencil,
Mm-hmm.
and kind of went around to start with, and then I started going by hand, freehand, to bring it out a little bit more, and hitting it and bringing the brush away quickly so you get a broader spray, finer spray as it hits the surface.
Okay.
You were
Yeah,
having fun.
one of the ways that you can go about creating something like that, like clouds in the sky, things like that, is to take cotton. Like if you get the cotton balls and you stretch them out, pull them out real long and fine, and lay them down, and then just spray, using those as a frisket. Now, normally what happens is, most people will do the cloud part, put in whatever color or whatever, and then they'll put the cotton down, and then they'll spray in the blue around it, and let the cotton be, the shape of the clouds.
So yeah, okay.
Yeah, does that make sense?
Nice. Yes, it does. And he also used old paintbrushes. I mean, like 2-inch paintbrushes around the edges and spray that, so you get that same kind of effect. So he was demonstrating a lot of different ways of achieving that kind of a texture.
Okay. Yeah. There's lots of ways of going about, creating, surfaces and textures and stuff like that with airbrush. It's a lot of fun. One of the things, to like create water that I really liked was to take like a piece of like bond paper or whatever out of your sketchbook, right? And, thin, lightweight bond paper. And if you take it and you ball it and crumple it up and get a lot of wrinkles and seams and stuff in it, and then open it back up, and don't flatten it out perfectly, but, just kind of open it up and then start spraying, but spray your color at a very low angle. It gets a kind of water light like effect or texture, like waves or, water in a lake or something. And it's really cool how that works out. So usually you hit it with like 2 or 3 different colors from different angles, but it's always kind of a low, like, it's really, the brush is really close down to the table. You're shooting across that surface. And then, once it's dry, you can actually, it's almost like a collage. You cut the piece out and you adhere it, to the surface of the canvas or whatever you're working on. And you've got that effect on there already, and you just seal it with like gel medium or something.
Wow. I'll have to try that. So
yeah, it's fun. It's a lot of fun to do stuff like that. So yeah, airbrushes are fun too. So okay,
Does
so
that also work with Saran Wrap?
yeah, you could use Saran Wrap. Now the thing is, the Saran Wrap would be sort of it would be a frisket. And, you could ball it up to get like a cloud shape, or wherever the Saran Wrap is, it's going to stop the paint from getting to the surface because it's real solid. So cotton balls and things like that, might work
I
better.
never worked with that, but I just wondered if it, since you could use regular thin paper with the Saran Wrap, because when you crunch it, it makes like different floating wave-like things.
Yeah. Oh, so you're talking about using it kind of like that for that water technique? Yeah, the only thing being that, Saran Wrap, when you try to lay it out flat again, it's real sticky. And then it's like, then you got to try to adhere it to the surface of your canvas. So it's a little bit more, well, I've never tried it, with Saran Wrap.
Me neither. I'm just curious.
Yeah. Now, one thing you can do is if you've got a real wet surface with your paint and you've got Saran Wrap, you can lay it down and then take it and crunch it up with your fingers and move it around and just let it sit there, for a few minutes and let the paint begin to set up and then peel it off.
Right.
And it will create, all kinds of interesting organic textures for you, in those areas. So now I've used it that way. I haven't used it for airbrushing and certainly not.
I've used an airbrush, but I just was curious,
Mhm.
If it would be effective or not, and it's not. That answered my question.
Yeah, I don't know. I haven't tried it, but I see it being really effective at being able to block out the shape. Yeah, but then to take it and try to adhere it to a surface, I don't know. I don't know if the acrylic would really stick to it very well. But hey, that's something to experiment with, Bob. since you got out the airbrush.
Get you the mad scientist at work here.
Yeah, get you some Saran Wrap and ball that up and spray some color on it and then try to stick it down and see what happens. Okay, you can give us a report.
I'll see if I can remember that past the next 10 minutes.
Okay, all right. Anyway, so moving on. India, who is new to the group, she sent in, I guess her like she said 4 or 5 paintings that she's done so far. And India, you there? I see you.
I'm still here.
Oh, okay, good. You're so quiet over there. All right.
Just listening.
Yeah. So are these oil?
This one was acrylic and oil, but all the rest are oil.
Okay. All right. Yeah, because there's parts of this that looks like oil paint. Just with the way that the paint laid down and the brushwork and stuff, it doesn't really look like acrylic. Okay, so this is a beach scene, kind of view out your window. It's an interesting device, that you use with the open window to kind of lead you into the scene. And so what inspired this?
I saw it, and this is the very first painting I ever did. So I like water, I like beach. So it just, I kind of try to do things that draw me in.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Well, it works really well. I mean, having the windows there and they're partially opened so that they kind of lead you back really to, this is almost like a 1-point perspective, to the horizon line. And, so that works pretty well to draw your eye in. Now, why did you choose to use both oil and acrylic?
I started out with the acrylic, but then I was instructed to use the oil on top to give it a shine.
Mm-hmm.
For the color more so, because at the bottom I think I used actual sand mixed into the sand.
Yeah, and did you add that to the acrylic, or did you add it?
Added that, I think, to the oil.
Oh, okay. Yeah, you can do things like that with acrylic too, and actually acrylic works real well. To kind of create those kind of gritty surfaces and stuff by adding pumice or sand or whatever to it, and then laying it down. The nice thing with the acrylic is that it dries more quickly, so that you can work back over it much faster than with oil. Oil takes a while to dry. So.
I wish I could look out my window and see that every day.
Yeah, that would not be a bad view, would it?
No.
Yeah. And then along that theme, we have this piece, another beach scene. So,
yeah.
So do you go hang out at the beach quite a bit?
Not like I would like to, but I grew up near Lake Michigan.
Oh, okay. All right. Yeah, so the water was, always there,
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh.
I like the grass in this one. The grass really looks good.
Mm-hmm.
And the steps.
Yeah. Now this is an oil as well, right?
Yeah, this is oil. This is
Okay.
all oil.
Yeah, and it looks like you've added some like little gravel or something, in here to kind of create.
Yeah, I did. I did.
All right.
I like the sky.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's got that nice kind of silvery color to it. that you see sometimes in the sky. So my question is to you, you know, and I know you're just kind of starting out on your journey as a painter. Why would you opt to put sand or something in your paint to create a texture when you might actually have more control by actually just painting it?
I was curious,
Uh-huh.
just to see how it would come out, if it would give it a more lifelike look.
Mm-hmm.
Actually, half of the gravel came off.
Yeah.
So it was just to see if it made it look more real.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Yeah, and that's one of those cases where the acrylic, if you knew you were going to have a area where you wanted a lot of texture like that, and you're going to add something to it, you know,
Mhm.
acrylic is really much better at adhering things to the surface of the canvas than oil is,
Okay.
because it's basically it's plastic, you know, it's plastic in a liquid form, and when it hardens, you know, it's just a sheet of plastic, and once, you know, once that sticks down to that canvas, stuff is not going to come off. It's on there pretty securely. You'd actually have to work at it really hard to scrape all of that off. With oil, the film on oil is more brittle and not as flexible, so that, you know, if you scrape against it or whatever, or even with the expansion and contraction of the canvas over time, a lot of those little pebbles and things will work loose, you know, because the paint doesn't stretch and move with, you know, with the rest of the surface at the same rate, and so
Okay.
you know, you'll probably end up eventually losing most of those, if you haven't already. Then you have this piece.
That's pretty.
Yeah, water seems to be a big thing. Now, in looking at this, you know, I could look at this and go, okay, now that kind of looks like the Great Lakes, you know, up in that area. You know, some of those lakes, you know, the water gets really, really dark like that. Now you're going to tell me that this was in Florida, right?
No,
No.
I saw a picture of this, and I wanted to do something different with the clouds.
Mhm.
So, because I was actually going to redo this one because of the clouds, I felt like they were too far. The angle was just too stretched. But I just love water.
Mhm.
So when I see certain things, like I said, that draw me in, I'll try them.
Mhm. Okay. So I've got a comment about this one, okay?
Okay.
You know, here the texture works pretty nicely, you know, to pull this area forward. And then the way you've handled your waves, you've done some really, really nice water, and how it gets kind of the foam, you know, just inside the breakers, you know, on the top of the water. And you pulled that off really nicely. There's a lot of nice contrast in this piece, and it looks and feels kind of like the right time of day. The only kind of criticism that I have is it seems like right in this area on your horizon line, this kind of seems probably where the sun is, right? Or where the
Mm-hmm.
lightest part of this is. And so if that's the case, then in this reflection down here, you know, on the sand, then
Mm-hmm.
you would kind of expect to see it brighter right in there as well.
Okay.
Okay. Because all this is doing is it's a direct reflection of the sky.
The sky.
Okay. And so, you know, if this is the point where the sun is setting, then this is going to be the brightest area. And as it moves along the horizon, you know, away from that point, it's going to get just slightly darker over here, and which would help, because that was, and I'm talking about slightly, okay? We're talking just a little bit. You know, that will help your eye from traveling off the edge of the canvas over there. And if I squint down, it seems like it's a little bit more muted and a little bit darker over there than it is right in here. Right in here seems to be your more intense area. So, you can probably push that just a little bit more, but mainly the thing is right in here, as this moves forward, get that a little lighter and get a little bit of that color down in there, as if it's really reflecting, on that surface. Okay.
Okay.
I see that, you got real bold and jumped in there and tried a human figure.
Nice, nice.
My daughter liked that one, so I did that one for her.
Okay. Yeah. And you did a good job, blocking in and laying in your colors. And you said the rest of these were oil. So I'm assuming this is an oil, right?
Yes.
Right now it's got kind of a graphic look to it because of the contrast, the light here and then, the darker value of the skin tone. And usually what you find in skin, any kind of, when you look at people, you do get lighter and darker areas, but, there's always like a softer edge, between those two where they kind of come together. It's very seldom, unless it's like on a bone that is real close to the skin surface, where you'll find like a hard edge like that.
Okay.
So as you lay those colors down, next to each other, think about, how am I going to, the outside edge, I want to be sharp, but in here, I need to begin to soften that a little bit. So it feels like that shadow is actually attached to the rest of the arm, right? Or this highlight, going down the shin, again, maybe part of this has got a hard edge up here by the kneecap because you got bone coming real close to the surface. But as it moves down the leg, a lot of this is going to get kind of fuzzy, and colors are going to blend together a little bit more. Okay. And then, well, you've got a couple more pieces here.
Oh, that's not, I like that.
Yeah, that's a fun piece. So what inspired you to do this?
I saw it and I liked it. I just saw it and liked it, and tried to do it. So that's how it ended up.
Yeah. Now, when you say you saw it and liked it, you mean you saw it like in a book or?
Yeah, I'll go through magazines. And if something strikes out at me, or sometimes I'll just surf the internet to see if there's something I like.
Yeah. Yeah. It's a fun piece, and you've done a good job at sort of capturing, the fact that all these kids are kind of, like skipping or, going down, the sidewalk together. The only thing I would kind of encourage you to do is you kind of cut it off here, and I'm guessing that's where the image ended.
Yeah, it did end there. And I was like, okay, do I chance it and try to make the buildings? But I wasn't sure of the angles and like that. So I just said, okay, let's just put clouds there.
Yeah. Well, see, I would have gone ahead and carried that, off in that direction, and this off in this direction, and then my sidewalk, just let it come off the edge there. And then you can fill in the rest of that building. You don't have to add a lot to either one of them. Just, to kind of finish them off. And that way, I mean, it's kind of distorted in the sense that the horizon line isn't like a level flat line. It's kind of like the camera was almost laid down on the ground, taking a photograph of this, as they kind of went down the sidewalk. So there's some distortion in it, and that's okay, because it kind of forces your view. You're looking forward, but you're also looking up, at the kids at the same time. So you see a lot of the sky and stuff back there. But I'd encourage you, to think about maybe trying to, finish, those each side off. If nothing else, just bring the grass and the sidewalk, and, kind of give it, a nice solid feel. And with this, you could either finish off this part of the building, by figuring out, the perspective on it, because it's going to come up and it's going to have a corner, and then you're going to have a side just like this that runs parallel to the side of the lower story, and finish those off. This piece, this building right here, it could be finished just the way it is. You've already got an edge right there. Just carry the grass on over and let it be. And you really don't need to put in like a lot of extra buildings or anything like that.
Okay.
Just finish it once you got there. Of course.
Hey, Charles,
Yeah.
what would you think of the composition if you just matted the edge of the center part there, cut that blue off?
She could. Yeah, that's another way of doing it. Is this on a stretch canvas or is it on a panel?
It's on a panel.
Okay. So yeah, you could actually like trim off, part of this, and then get a mat and put a mat around it to just crop in on the area that you want to show, and then frame it and be done with it and not add to either side. But if you wanted to put it in a frame, you just finish those.
If she wanted to put it in a frame and didn't want a mat, all she'd have to do is, if the piece, is to cut it like I don't know what size this is, but to cut it and figure out the closest thing to a normal size, the inside part of the, 8 by 10 or whatever size it is.
Yeah.
Fit it in the frame.
Yeah, she could. She could just trim it somewhere along the edge here.
Put a mat on an oil. I don't know why. It's just
The idea of adding the buildings and then the grass is best, because I like the entire picture. Looking at the kids, you see the sky, you see the birds, and it just makes the picture to me better than cropping it off.
Yeah, and I kind of like the amount of sky that she's got there. And if she had,
it's got a good flow to it.
Pardon?
Good visual flow to it.
Yeah, it is. So
remind me of a page out of a children's book,
Yeah, it looks like a children's illustration.
Yeah, I like it.
Yeah. Anyhow, I'm picking on you a lot today because you sent in a few pieces. So let's take a look.
I'm good.
You get to be the center of attention today.
I'm good.
Okay. Oh, that's nice.
Yeah, that is. That's a nice piece, and you really handled the clouds and the sky pretty nicely.
I like the wood.
Yeah.
The wood.
Me too. It looks so real.
It does.
Walk on that wood.
Yeah, you got a nice forced perspective there, and then a nice texture and surface to the wood. Yeah, I mean, the only thing I'd say is up here in the clouds, just soften some of your edges. If you look at clouds, they're usually just a few sharp edges, and then everything else is a lot softer.
Okay.
And it will make them feel lighter.
From the middle to the left is not finished, and from the center down is not finished.
Okay. You mean center here down?
Yeah. Yes.
You mean with the water and stuff?
Yeah, because it's in the picture, there's a reflection of the sky. So the clouds are going to be reflected in the water. And I just put that down just to block it off and to, just to hold, just to put it there until I get to it. And I'm still working on the clouds to the right. Even I went back yesterday and changed something in one of the clouds, but that's an idea definitely to think about softening them, as I'm still working on it.
Yeah. Okay. Well, when you do more work on this, submit it again, and submit this photo the way it was, and submit where you're at with it now, so you can kind of see the progress and what you changed in it. Okay.
Would you have moved the wood going into the picture off center? It looks like it's directly in the middle.
It's pretty close, but
I think the picture itself is actually tilted a little bit
Mm-hmm.
because it's centered, and because when it's finished, there's going to be a boat, and then there's going to be some logs coming up out of the water and stuff, and it's pretty centered. I think the picture is just a little crooked.
Yeah. And Jean, the thing is, she probably took this from some photo reference. And a lot of photographers do that, you know, where they'll shoot straight down a pier, and it's like dead center right in the middle of the photo. You know. Why they do that?
We're always discussing it not being in the direct center of the piece of artwork.
Yeah.
And that was the reason for the question.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
But yeah, I mean, if I had my preference, if I were going to try to paint something like that, yeah, I would move it off center, or, you know, not have it, you know, directly in the center. But again, if it were off center, the perspective would be different, because it's really kind of a 1-point perspective.
Right.
You know, I mean, that's our, you know, our focal point, and, you know, really from, you know, it's our 1-point perspective, and then everything kind of radiates off of that, you know.
Well, if she puts the boat in and the log standing straight up, maybe it'll look more off center than it is.
Yeah, it's going to change the composition a little, you know, as she develops.
Interesting. I like it. It's very interesting.
Yep.
Yeah, it's a nice piece. I just want to see her finish it. See how it ends up. See, you know, I'm bad about that. You know, in my classes, you know, my standard thing to tell people is paint faster. So.
You don't know who you're talking to.
That's what I feel. I'm going
as fast as I can. I do.
I work with what's known as slow-mo.
Yeah. Well, see, you know, in the classes at Benson, you know, I don't give them many options. I always give them big brushes. I don't give them little brushes. And, you know, I give them big brushes and tell them to paint faster. You know, that's my general mode there. And then you have this piece, and it's
I love it.
Piece. You're actually doing really well with mixing your color and controlling your value. Okay. And you know, I see that throughout most of your work. You know, you're a lot more sensitive to value than a lot of people just starting out painting. So you got a good eye for that, and yeah, don't lose that, because that's a hard thing to grasp, and a lot of people really struggle with value. But
so when you say value, what do you exactly mean?
Value means how light or how dark any color is. You know, with like you've got a whole series of grays here in the rocks, right? But you see this is much lighter, right? You know, the one in the background. So it really pushes it back. And then this one is darker, right? But, you know, overall it's darker, and it's kind of almost a silhouetted shape. And then you come here and you have about the same amount of dark in this as you do here, but you've added more light. So there's more contrast in this layer than there is in this one. So it helps pull this forward and push that one back, right?
Okay.
And then in this one, see, you've introduced actually more color. You know, you've got these kind of gold and oranges and things that you don't see back here. This is more neutral. So again, even though this has got more contrast in value, it's still more neutral and sits backward, and this one moves forward for you. Now, I would say, you know, where you've got some light in here, and I don't know whether you're finished with this or not, but, you know, you could probably get more light, you know, in on some of these rocks, and giving this even more contrast and pulling it even further forward in the painting. Okay. But, you know, as far as, you know, controlling your color and, you know, the intensity of the color, the value of it, you seem to be doing really well with that. So
thank you.
Yeah. Let's see. I guess that's the last one of yours. Now, is this finished or is this not finished at this point?
Well, it's finished, but it's drying.
Mhm.
It's still here. It's for my niece, so it's actually still here. So it's something I could do, to work on again.
Yeah. Yeah, and you don't need a lot, but if you get some of these lighter values, up in here, again, it's
Okay.
gonna give you more contrast and help pull that even further forward. Okay. Just a little here and there. Don't overdo it.
Okay.
I like your man on top up there too.
Uh-huh. Yeah. Though he feels a little bit dangerously close to the edge.
That's what I told her.
That's what everybody keeps saying.
Yeah. Well, with that foot hanging off there,
I told him he need a fence.
They're young and adventurous.
Yep. Yeah. So we got Jacqueline. Okay, Jacqueline Lattimore.
Oh, that's nice. I like
yeah,
that.
this is a fun piece. There's a lot of color and the musical notes.
It's on a T-shirt. I sold 11 of them.
Oh, okay.
Oh, wow.
I was going to ask you because I was looking at this and is this paper or is this fabric or what is?
I placed it over a canvas and then I couldn't get all the wrinkles out because I wanted to get it into you today because I didn't have anything else to send.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Well, it worked out. It's it is a nice piece, and now is this acrylic?
Yes.
Okay, and this you just painted that directly on the T-shirt, right?
Right.
Now, did you heat set it?
Yeah. What I do is I put it in a dryer. Heat set it.
Yeah, that's the thing. You can use acrylic on T-shirts and stuff like that, but as soon as the piece is dry on the T-shirt, you need to stick it in the dryer.
Yeah.
And get it,
And then I had to use medium also, so it would smear, so it would spread easier. Use medium in it.
Oh, like what do they call that? The diffusing, whatever it is. Medium.
Just acrylic medium.
Okay.
Water based.
Yeah, but yeah, put them in the dryer, and that will set them more or less permanently, so that the color doesn't wash out.
Well, it looked really good on my guitar class. They did a program, and everybody wore the same kind of T-shirts, and it looked pretty good. Yeah. Even though now I know more about contour, the evenness of, what do you call it? I would make it more even now. If I do another one, it would be even.
Centered.
Yeah.
Kind of lopsided. I think that gives it character. I like it.
Yeah. I was about to say, if you make the body of the guitar too symmetrical and even, then it becomes a little more boring. This has got some personality to it.
Yeah, it looks like it's leaned on a wall or something.
Yeah. So
it looks like the guitar is even dancing.
Right.
Yeah.
All right. My vote is leave it the way it is. It's fine.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Okay. So let's see. Moving on. We got John. He sent in a piece. This is very reminiscent of Lilius Trotter. Was this inspired by Lilius Trotter, John?
No, it was not.
It was not. Okay.
I have friends that live right on the shore of Lake Michigan in Wisconsin, and they sent some pictures of the storm that went through in the lake, and I just wanted to do a little bit of something to sort of capture that the mood of the storm.
Yeah, you're talking about the most recent big snowstorm a couple of days ago, right?
Yes, right. This past week, a couple of days ago.
Yeah, I understand they got really blanketed up there.
Yeah.
Okay. And
that's the watercolor on the gray tone paper.
Right. Yeah. And the gray works really well for that, because it begins to kind of set the mood for it. And then you're using an opaque, white in there, for
yes.
But yeah, everything looks pretty good. One thing I would say is the shape of the trees.
Yeah.
You know, they're a little too much of a perfect triangle.
Yeah, I see that. I see that now looking at it, right?
Yeah. And you know, I mean, anytime you know, you can generalize the shape or the form, but you know, don't make it a perfect isosceles triangle or whatever.
Right.
It
That
begins
is.
to look more graphic. And in this one, see, you know, kind of broke up that edge, you know, really
Right.
nicely. Yeah, so you could use a little more of that in here and in here. Yeah, I mean, this part isn't so bad, but you know, this gets a little solid and kind of,
Yes.
you know, graphic. Okay, so I would kind of work with changing that up a little bit. Okay. Then we have Naomi. You here? Yep, I see her.
I'm here.
There
I'm
you
here.
go. Okay.
Okay.
So this looks like watercolor.
No, it's
No?
yeah, it's watercolor. Yeah.
Oh. Yeah. No. Okay.
No, I'm doing pencil. Yeah, that's my watercolor, but today I'm doing pencil. Yeah.
Okay. All right. But this is watercolor. This is not watercolor.
This is watercolor.
Okay. All right.
And those are sunflowers, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
I like
That's
this
nice.
picture.
That's nice. I like that too.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, it's got a nice feel. I'm kind of curious about it though, because it kind of looks almost like we're up above them, looking down on them slightly. Was that the case, or?
No, but it's cut off. My husband cut it off
Ah.
a little.
Okay.
It comes down further down. It's free.
Mhm.
No, it's not in a vase or anything. It's just free floating.
Okay.
Design.
Yeah. All right. And then
I'm going to do a few more. That was my first. Okay, this is crazy.
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 All right. You know, when I saw this morning, it reminded me of a film. I'm trying to think of the name of it now, but there was a character, you know, in the film, and he was this kind of shadowy looking character. You know.
I'm going to do this again.
Okay.
I don't like the shape of the face. I'm going to do, this is my first. I'm going to work on this again.
Okay. Now, how big are these? These are small, right?
Yeah, they're very small.
Okay. Yeah.
They're not even 5 by 7.
Yeah. I know you've been working with some small scraps of watercolor paper and stuff.
Well, no, they're not scraps. I cut them up. I take the watercolor pad sheet and then I cut them up.
Okay.
So when you enlarge it like that, it's, you know, when I do it small, it looks different when it's enlarged.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm sure this probably looks more painterly, you know, when you're viewing it on the computer screen versus when you're actually looking.
Yeah. It looks completely different. Yeah. But I'm going to work on him again. I like him.
Okay. Well, you know, if you're going to do that, my suggestion is go ahead and use the whole sheet.
Use the whole sheet?
Right. You know, work bigger.
Work bigger, why?
Because you can kind of get in there and get more nuance with those transitions and value and stuff.
Oh, okay.
A larger piece than you can on a small piece.
Yeah.
Okay. And then you have your lady with the red hair there. So.
And the blue eyelids.
Yeah. So, you know, in looking at this, Naomi, you know, you've left the skin tones on the face. You know,
correct.
Like it's got a lot of light on it, and so you just kind of left it the white of the paper.
Right.
And then you go from there into this very strong, and if you squint your eye down, because it's close to the light, this looks really, really dark now.
Okay, so I should do more skin color.
Well, no, not necessarily. You could just kind of hold back on the value.
Okay.
You know, so that you don't have quite so much contrast.
I had that problem yesterday. You told me that too.
Yeah, value is important.
Yeah,
You
yeah.
know, and trying to get enough contrast, but not like overdoing it.
Right, right. That was my problem yesterday. You pointed that out. Uh-huh. You keep telling me, eventually it will sink in.
It will.
After 4 years, I don't know.
Yeah, yeah. Hey, you know, Rome was not built in a day, and you know, I went to 4 years of art college, and you know, I thought by the time I left there, you know, that I knew a few things, you know, value being one of them.
Uh-huh.
But you know, another 40 years of, you know, pushing paint around and stuff, you know, you realize that when you left school, you really didn't know much of anything.
Oh, okay. There's hope.
Yeah, yeah,
There's
yeah.
hope for
It's
me.
yeah, well, there's hope for everybody, and the thing is, just doing it. You know, it's like the more you paint, the more you draw, the more you look at things.
Yeah, but it's good that when you critique it. That's true. But I'm doing the same mistake. So I like when you critique it. But I have to tell you something funny. Those painters, those artists this morning, I kind of think I'm not there yet. I'm not an artist. But when I saw those, I could say I'm an artist.
Yes, you could.
Go on, girl. Go on, girl.
Yeah, yeah. And see, you know, you and I have disagreed about that for a long time. You know, you were an artist the day you walked into the class. You know, and even before that. But you know, everybody.
Use was the adjective a struggling artist, and you
Yes,
always struggle.
that's correct. That's
And
what
you
I am.
always
A
struggle.
struggling artist.
Well,
Yes.
You always struggle. And you always learn.
yeah. Well,
Absolutely.
some of them are struggling financially, you know, but believe
most-
me, even the artists that are not struggling financially are still struggling.
Yes, I wasn't speaking.
Amen to that.
Most
Yeah.
artists always struggle financially.
Well, life is a challenge.
Financially, but you know, I mean, just with, you know, just by the nature of, well, human nature, you know, it's like anything you do, if you do it for a while, you try to figure out ways of doing it better. And so you're always on this quest to sort of improve your craft, you know, or, you know, get more knowledge about what you're doing and why things are working or why they're not working. And, you know, the more you do that, you find out there's a lot more to learn. You know?
Yeah, but sometimes I could tell what I do wrong, but then when you critique it, it's much better. It's more helpful.
Okay. Well, you know, that's why you guys are paying me all this money, right?
Right, the big bucks.
The big bucks. There we go. All right. So moving on here, we're going to look at the dog. Okay. So one word, values.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. You know, there's things that work about this, you know, pretty well. And then there's things that kind of fight in there. And
Okay, what's fighting?
well, okay, the focal point is really right here in the face, right?
Yes. The
And
eyes.
and the thing that, you know, is working in this really well is you've got more contrast in color, right, in this area. So it draws your eye here. The colors are more neutral back here.
Okay.
But if I were going to do that, I would soften, you know, all of that down a little bit so that it sits back, because you got a lot of sharp edges and some pretty dark values in there. And and they don't need to be back there. You know, it can be a gray area, and you know it's part of the hip or, you know, the rest of the body behind it. And just softening that back again would help all of this, the face and things, and the ears pull forward. Okay? You know, the other thing is, you know, you've got some good contrast in around the bottom of the face here where it's kind of meeting the floor. And then you've got this, it looks like the arm or the paw sticking out from
the paw.
Yeah. So I would kind of define that shape a little bit better, and you're going to see you've got a good strong dark there because there's compression on top of it. But right underneath here, you know, where it's meeting the floor, you know, I think I would see, you know, more dark, you know, similar to that, you know, underneath here. And that would give it some weight, like, you know, there's actually weight on the pods pushing down on the floor.
Mm.
It would also help pull it forward. Okay. We got your flowers. Are those geraniums?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah. Not my strongest suit talking about, you know, what type of flower is what, but I know a few.
That's pretty. That's pretty, Naomi. I like that.
Yeah.
Well, it looks better small, like Charles said.
Mhm.
It when you blow it up, it takes away from it.
Yeah. The only thing here is, you know, I just want to see it more off center. You know,
Okay.
it's a little too in the middle. You know, and
Okay.
again, you know, and you do this a lot. You know, it's like you put in a horizon line and it's always kind of level. And
Uh-huh.
it's like, what would have happened if you know your line right there kind of ran as a diagonal?
Oh, more interesting.
Right. You know.
Okay. Yes.
And if this were a little more, probably more to the right. You know.
Okay, but the diagonal would give it more interest.
Right.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. It would pull your eye in, and
Mhm.
you know, most Westerners read, you know, from left to right. So it kind of gives you a way to kind of move into the painting and move across it to the subject
Yeah.
matter, right?
Sounds good. Yeah.
So, you know, that composition thing.
Mhm.
So, you know, same thing here. You know, the composition, you know, this is a lot more interesting because look at the shape it makes and how it kind of moves, you know, in, you know, up the back, you know, to the head, right?
Uh-huh.
Now, I guess in looking at that, if this were the back end of the horse
Uh-huh.
and it were closer to us like that,
Yes.
then it's
Uh-huh.
much bigger,
It should be bigger, huh?
much bigger.
Okay.
Yeah, because
I'm gonna do that again then.
yeah, but it's just, you know, kind of just go ahead and take it off the edge of the page there,
Uh-huh.
you know, and fill that space and let it, you know, and that will help pull it forward and make it
Yeah.
look like it's, you know, up here closer to us. We're standing behind, you know, him or her.
Yeah.
We got your, it looks like me wearing a headdress. So, and I don't, you know, I don't run around with too many headdresses on these days. But again, you know, you got the idea here. I'd like to see you do more with the contrast and the values in there. It's like, where's the light? Where's the shadow?
Uh-huh.
You know, what's really going to make, you know,
The face, on the side of the face, I need to darken that. Yeah.
yeah, there, maybe under the jawline, something, you know, in there, some kind of
Yeah.
contrast, you know.
Should the headdress have more color?
Yeah,
You know,
it
'cause
could.
the
It could have.
face and the headdress are the same color almost.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Mm.
And again, you know, the same range of value, you know, as the face. So generally, if she pushes in, you know, a lot stronger darks in there, it's going to make the lights and the midtones look lighter than they do now.
Okay, what should I do darker? Where?
Well, I don't know. You know, I can't.
I think the face. Give
Yeah,
him a little.
I can't see your reference.
Yeah.
And I don't. Did you work from reference for this?
Yes.
Okay. Then go back and look at it and look where the light and the shadows are.
Yeah.
Okay.
But
and,
I like the nose because you know I have trouble with noses and profiles.
okay. But the one thing, okay, I'm assuming that some of these feathers are white up here.
Off-white.
Yeah. Well, I'm, you know, in the photo, the reference, they're fairly light.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
Okay. And I'm guessing if this guy is in fact Native American, then the skin tone overall would be much darker than that.
Yeah, a little darker. Not that much. Not that dark.
Not that dark. Okay.
Not that dark.
Okay.
Like, no. I don't think Native people are that dark. I don't think so.
About a number 3 to 5 value range.
When I get a tan, that's what they look like. When I have a tan, that's the skin.
Right, but that's still about a 3 to 5 value range.
Yeah.
It's not a that's not a white.
Some of them are my color.
Really? Well,
Yeah.
that's because you want to know something. A third of
I met some that were my color. Yeah.
Okay, I'm going to tell you something very interesting. A third of the cowboys, you know, when we see them shooting up the saloons and all that, a third of the cowboys were escaped slaves, and they don't depict them in Hollywood like that.
Right.
So that when you say that you're color, they were escaped people that went out west and became cowboys.
Yeah,
But they don't show it to us in Hollywood.
Yeah.
I think the Lone Ranger was based on.
I think the Lone Ranger was Afro-American. Yes.
Well, actually, a lot of African American freed slaves went west.
Went west to
Yeah.
free, so they couldn't get caught.
Yeah, well, no, they didn't have to worry about getting caught at that time because they were already freed. But the issue was staying in the South. There were not many opportunities, and so a lot of
and you could get lynched for anything.
Yeah.
But when we see the Wild West, they always show the white man, but that is not true.
Yeah.
Well, there were far more African Americans in the West than
they depicted.
Gets portrayed in the movies or books.
Hollywood lies.
Well, yes,
they do.
It's an industry.
They I don't know if they so much lie as they're trying to make sure that they keep a captive audience. So if you depict people that people don't want to see, you might not get as many tickets bought.
Right.
Yeah. And they weren't native people. They were people, and then they put makeup on them. They were not native people. The same thing with Asians. They would have an Asian woman that's American and then change her. Now they don't do that. Now they kind of use authentic people.
Yes, they're getting better.
Yes.
Yeah. Charlie Chan in all the movies was a white man.
He was a white man?
Yeah.
Charlie Chan, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, he was a white guy playing a Chinese guy.
Yeah.
And the native people didn't look like the Cherokee. When I went and saw Cherokee people, the Hollywood didn't make them look like real native people at all.
The last version of Wild Wild West was what's his name?
Will Smith.
Will Smith, right? So.
Yeah.
They are coming around.
on Dancing with Wolves, I think they showed some native people, but the story was really about the white male. You know, the storyline, even though they put the people in, the storyline was not about them.
Oh, you mean no women?
No, there were women in there, but they actually used a native cast. But anyway, moving away from movies.
Hey, this is Bob. I'd like to make a comment about your Indian, if I can.
Yeah.
Can you go back here a second?
Yeah.
There you go. Okay. What I've noticed is the fact that it looks like the headdress is kind of sitting on top of his head. He doesn't seem to be really wearing it. Seems to
Okay,
be
how could I get it to look like he's wearing it?
What you need to do is to make the band with the little triangles on it.
Yes.
Come out in front of his head.
Yes.
So it looks like because if you're going to have all these feathers, I did an Indian here a few years ago, and in order to get all those feathers in to make them stay, the headband was pretty heavy and thick, so it would stretch out pretty far away from the front of his head.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
So instead of
should I make it darker? The headband darker?
No, just move it forward a little bit so it's a little bit thicker. Right.
Thicker on his head. Okay.
Well, no, just the headband. See, so it comes out further in front of the forehead.
So how would I get it to look like it's coming towards me?
Well, it's
the
not
color. Charles, you taught me the color will push it back. Push it back. No, bring it out.
Forward.
Well,
forward.
Yeah, more color and contrast will bring it forward. But
Okay.
but what we're talking about here, okay, let me see if I can explain this. You've got the line of the forehead, right? If you follow this up and you see your headdress lines up with your forehead, right?
Yeah.
And if you were actually wearing a hat or something like that, the hat's got a certain amount of thickness. Same thing if you had a scarf or a band around your head, it's got a certain amount of thickness. So it's not going to be right in line. It's going to be just slightly in front of that. See, you know, it's going to come out a little bit further right there.
Okay, I got you. I understand. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's not a matter of changing the color or the contrast in here. It's just, you know, a matter of just moving it slightly forward, and that'll give
And
it
a little curve.
Yeah. But, you know, Bob is right in the sense that it doesn't really feel like it's sitting down on his head.
Yeah.
Because it's riding up so high, you know, on, you know, let's finish off the top of his head and say the top of his head is here. So that doesn't really feel far enough down on his head to feel like he's really wearing it.
Okay.
But
He
you know,
needs a lot of work.
a little bit, yeah. But go back and look at your reference really closely and check.
I am going to look at it again. And the horse, I'm going to look at again too. I'm going to do it again. We'll touch it up.
All right.
But you know, for lady who wear a headband on the forehead, this seems to be correct. You need not have to move it down a bit though.
Yeah.
It still looks
No, I
good.
see what he means. I'm gonna check my reference.
Yeah, let's go back and look at it.
Yeah.
Anyway, you've got another face there where
this is pencil.
Yeah, you seem to be running out of room around
Yes.
the chin.
I do have that problem.
Yeah, so either the jawline's got to be a little lower, right, and give her a little more room around her lips.
Yeah, when I set it up, I should do that.
Yeah, check carefully. And
Okay,
usually
so
mouths are not that far away from the nose. You know, they tend to be usually slightly closer to the nose.
okay, but I have to, when I set up, I should pay attention to that. I did run out of room.
Yes, you need to pay attention to that. This one's overall better. The nose probably feels a little bit too short. Again, you know, it can kind of come down a little bit. Overall, though, you know, your distance from the bottom of your nose to your chin feels about right in comparison to the bottom of the nose to the brow and brow to the hairline. So you've got it broken up, you know, fairly evenly.
But the nose is too short.
Yeah, it feels a little short, so I would move it down just a little, and or, you know, the lips could come up just slightly. Either one, okay? Somewhere in there. Okay, last but not least, we got Saran. And Saran worked on the girls, and, you know, he took out the hard outline around her hands and things like that. There's still a little bit of it, but he softened it up quite a bit, and it looks considerably better. Saran, are you here? I saw you. Here. Okay. One thing though, okay, this eye, it still seems, you know, they're not really lining up, and it seems like really wide. It's like, I would take some of the eye out right there on the inside and move that pupil over a little bit, because the spacing in here just doesn't quite feel right. Okay.
Say that again. I didn't really quite get it.
Okay. If you look at this eye, okay, it doesn't seem to be in line with this eye.
Oh, okay.
It seems to be moving at a different angle.
Okay.
Right?
Okay.
Corner to corner. And this one, corner to corner, is kind of moving, you know, this way, right?
Okay.
They're not going to do that. You know, they're going to complement each other. The other thing is they feel close together right here.
Okay.
It's like you don't really have like a full width of the eye between them. And so it's like this corner seems to be a little too close on the inside. It's like you could move it just a little bit and maybe move the pupil back, and you'd probably have it in the right place.
Okay.
It's a little thing, but it's a big thing. because we
Yeah.
look at her eyes, you know. I mean, that's one of the first places you look.
Okay.
Now, you have softened her up quite a bit from yesterday. She's still not as soft as her, you know, and particularly around the face. And if you soften some of that stuff down, then it wouldn't jump out at you as much either. Okay.
So softening the face, do I put more lighter tone around?
No, it's not. It's not a matter of the value. It's kind of the edges. You've got more sharp edges, shapes in her face, and here you've softened those down really nicely, and it feels kind of soft. Same thing with her hands. You know, you've kept it much softer. You know, still this is, you know, really delineated. Even though you don't have that really dark outline, there's still pretty much an outline around these. And so I would kind of lose some of that. Because you see, you've got the dark on the top and the bottom of the finger. And that can't happen. You know, it can't happen on a round form because one side of that form is going to be catching more light than the other. So you're going to have a light side and shadow side.
Okay, so in terms of application, how do you do it? Do you perhaps put a lighter film over it?
Well,
blanket it and then come back and.
Okay, so let's talk about like the corner of the mouth. Here, let's blow that up so we can see what we're doing there. Okay, so, you know, let's say that I wanted to come in and like soften the corner of the mouth, right? So I might mix just a little bit of a flesh tone. And then I might just kind of glaze over that corner, you know, just kind of fade it back just a little bit. I don't want to get rid of it. I just want to kind of knock it back so it's not quite so sharp and quite so strong. Same thing, you know, kind of around the outline of the eye, just kind of soften them a bit. And this shadow on the nose and the nostrils, again, you know, I might want to take them back just a little bit. Because if you look at the contrast here and you look at the contrast here, see, this is much softer, right? All around her mouth and everything else. This is all, you know, very delineated and kind of a sharper edges, right?
Yeah, that one has a lot more passes. One on the right, almost like 1 or 2 passes, you know, but I didn't overwork as much as the one on the left.
Yeah.
But what you're saying is I should put some lighter glaze over them, right?
Yeah, just to soften some of these hard edges and the contrast. See, look at the dark here and look at the dark here. Okay, they're not the same.
Okay.
See, this is much softer. It's kind of blurrier. It's a slight, you know, not a drastically lighter value, but, you know, a slightly lighter value and generally softer paint application.
So you're saying the one on the left is more correct, right?
Yes.
Okay.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah.
Okay.
So if you,
how about the fingers?
So if you call that overworking, then do me a favor and overwork her face too, please. So, yeah, because I mean, look, you know, her face is much softer and feels, you know, it feels much more natural to me. You know, she's got more contrast in her and not quite as soft.
Okay.
So, and same thing with the hands, you know.
Yeah, that's where I question, how do I fix it?
Right. Well,
applying paint.
Well, okay, you know, see, you've got some outline here, right?
Yeah.
But really just where there's some kind of contact point, right?
Yeah.
And then you've kind of softened and let go of, you know, the outline in a lot of the other areas. And here, pretty, you know, you kind of soften the outline, you didn't get rid of it, you know? And so again, you can totally get rid of that outline, you know, up to about there, because you don't need it. You know, you don't really need, you know, the outline like here on the inside of the arm.
Charles, my question is, how do I do it? Do I glaze over with a lighter
No, make a flesh tone, like the value that's right here, or maybe something that's just slightly darker than that, and go along there. But not as much contrast as you've got.
Yeah. So you paint over the lines, right?
Right. Yes.
Okay.
We're trying to get rid of the outline.
Okay. Okay. Gotcha.
Yeah. Because it's we're like here in the finger, you've already got the lighter value for like the knuckle on the thumb, right? And so that's catching light, and your value around here is all pretty good. You don't really need the dark outline back here at the back of the hand.
Okay, so I just blank out the lines.
Yeah, with a flesh tone, Yeah, I wouldn't make it part of the dress. I would just make it part of the skin. Okay. On the fingers, it gets a little more complicated, right? Because you've got a lot of areas there where, the fingers are actually pressing up against each other. So you're going to get some kind of line in there. Like right in here, you've left that line darker where the thumb makes contact with the finger, and that's okay. But then, a lot of this can kind of fade back or go away. This line here, if you got rid of the line there, then it would indicate that this is catching more light on the top end, and that this is rounded and falling into shadow, and that would be okay. And then you could leave that. But, getting rid of this, probably getting rid of some of the dark where these two things come together. You don't really need that. Just a slight change in value would work there. And then
Charles, back to the application. How much medium do you use to fix the paint?
Well, in this case, in getting rid of these, I wouldn't thin the paint. Just mix an appropriate color, put it down. When you're coming up here and you're just trying to soften these back, then you're treating it kind of like a glaze.
Okay.
Because you're not wanting to change like the mouth, as far as where it is or the shape of it or anything like that, or the nose. You want those things to be there. You just want them softer, not quite so stark. Now, in this case, you're going to have to use some opaque paint to get rid of, that part coming in there. And when I look at this, you see the size of this eye, if you measured it across, is bigger, longer than this.
Yeah, okay.
And it's just, if it ended like right there and the pupil shifted over just slightly, you'd probably be fine.
Yeah.
Okay.
Charles, do you use white or what you call yellow? I mean, Naples yellow to mix the lighter tone or not?
Yeah.
Do you use white?
No. Well, you could use either. But my preference is using Naples yellow over white.
Okay. Because white seems to give you a chalky appearance.
Right. Yeah. White is going to make it's going to shift the temperature and the value, way too much.
I'm going to shut this down. Is that all right with you?
Pardon?
Huh?
I don't know. I missed that. At any rate. But yeah, using Naples yellow would probably be a better choice than using like white. Okay. So anyway, it's a nice painting. It's just like anything else. It's a lot of little tweaks. Then I have to ask you about this one.
Yeah.
I like it. It's a fun idea and concept. My question though is, that's a really big bird. Are cormorants really all that big?
No, but it's kind of like we take a photograph, it's closer to you.
How much closer is he to us?
Okay. What you're saying is far too big, right?
Compared to the figure, yeah. Yeah, it feels, that would have to be a really long pole, to get that bird that big. So, I think I know what a cormorant looks like, and they're kind of a medium-sized seabird. They're not usually as big as a seagull, it's slightly smaller than that. And
Actually, it's bigger, Charles, if you look at the picture. Because I painted from a reference
yeah,
photo. It's big,
okay, huh.
like a chicken.
Like a chicken.
Yeah.
That looks like an eagle.
Yeah, I mean it's a pretty good sized bird. You know, like looking at that, it's like, yeah, but
Maybe the bird just needs to move forward. Maybe the bird just needs to move forward. That's all.
well, it would have to be fairly far forward to be that big. That has to be a really long pole sticking out there that the bird's resting on. At any rate, that's just the thing that jumped out at me was
okay.
Looking at those.
I love the shadows. I like the shadow he put there.
You mean the reflections?
The reflections, I mean, yes.
Yeah, I mean, the water, the sky, all the color, all of that works really, really nicely. I even like the figure sitting in the boat, and that the fact that you didn't overwork, the figure. You kind of left out a lot of the facial features and stuff, and just kind of gave a suggestion of the guy back there.
Is he sitting in a boat or on rocks?
It's a bamboo raft.
Yeah, like a raft or something. Yeah.
Oh.
Because usually the water is very shallow,
Mm-hmm.
so they can't use a real boat. They use bamboo raft.
Yeah. But now, is that in Thailand?
No, this is in China.
In China, yeah.
Southern China.
Yeah, kind of. It looks like the area in around the Yangtze River with those mountains, because those are real indicative of that part of the.
Okay, it's a city called Guilin, Guilin. If you want to look it up, it's one of the most famous tourist attractions.
Yeah, yeah. It that part is parts of China. You don't see rock formations like that. Really almost anywhere else in the world. They're very unusual there.
To be honest with you, the reason I painted this picture is to learn how to do underwater rocks, which I've never done before.
Okay.
So I thought maybe not too bad.
No, it works. I mean, it works, fine. Now, that being said, I mean, some of this outline type stuff, could be softer, and, just the change of value would be enough to tell you that the rocks continue on back through there. But you've done a pretty good job at, doing a convincing portrayal of rocks that stick above the water and then the ones underneath. So, yeah, I mean, I think the painting works. How big is this?
18 by 24.
Wow.
Yeah, so kind of a medium size painting. Okay. Yeah.
I don't usually enjoy painting small pictures, size, because I couldn't put enough detail in it.
Right.
My minimum size, I would say, 20 by 24. My minimum preferred size, and 24 by 30 is my favorite size.
Yeah, it's like, for me, it's like as I get a little further along, the bigger I want to paint. Yeah, I just don't enjoy painting small paintings anymore. Because you're going to put just as much work into that small painting as you are, a bigger painting.
That's what I found.
Yeah, it doesn't, and the end result is that you've got something that's, on the wall that, is a little more impressive. It has more impact. Being a bigger piece. Now, obviously that doesn't work for everybody because not everybody's got big wall spaces and stuff to hang paintings on. Some people live in kind of smaller homes and things, and if they painted big paintings, pretty soon they wouldn't have any wall space, to hang the rest of their stuff. So, but
I have a question for you, Charles. I still believe you, although I discussed with you before, that most people have now on acrylic.
Your sound went out, Saran.
Yeah.
Your sound went away.
Yeah, while we're waiting for him. And you know, the other thing about the big painting, I kind of feel like I want to get better before I make a great big painting to put on the wall. You know, I don't want it at my learning stages to use, you know, to get a huge canvas and a lot of ink. And I don't even like the painting when I'm finished.
Well, bigger paintings can be more challenging. Hey, can you hear me now, Charles?
I can hear you. I can hear you now.
Hey, Charles, my question is, I mean, every time I paint acrylic, I feel like, you know, I'm making an inferior painting because I still believe that people don't give don't give enough respect toward acrylic compared to oil. Is that a true assumption or?
Is that last picture with the rocks acrylic?
No, I mean, yeah, acrylic paintings seem to receive less.
Oh no, I would have a very hard time with that, getting those on the rocks and all that. That's fantastic.
Well, to answer your question, years and years ago, you know, yes, you know, acrylics, galleries and things didn't treat them the same way that they treated oils. But these days, even watercolor, you know, they're all getting a lot more respect. And, you know, there's, you know, some watercolors are bringing, you know, comparable prices to the oils. So, you know, it's all about the artist and the market, and you know, and the collector, really. You know, if they're a fairly educated collector at this point, you know, most of them don't really have a bias or a prejudice against acrylic, you know, versus oil, or watercolor versus acrylic or oil.
Okay, so in general, I should not feel that to create a more valuable painting, it should not, or it should be oil more so than acrylic, right?
No.
Because I think, you know, painting acrylic have tendency to be less muddy if you do landscape, because you can keep painting over and not, you know, muddying it up.
Well, the same is true with portraits. I mean, you know, I've done portraits in acrylic, and they come off just fine. You know, 25 years ago, I would have told you not to use acrylic. But then that's because, you know, the acrylics that they had available during that time would, you know, fade and darken so much more than they do now. And now you don't have that problem, you know, to the same degree. And you know, depending on the technique that you work with, you know, intensity in your color in acrylic can be as vibrant and strong as oil, if not stronger. So, yeah, it's really, these days, it's really just a preference of the artist and how you work with that medium. If you work really well with acrylic and you like working with acrylic, work with acrylic. You know, it's, as far as whether it's going to bring the same price as an oil, it should. You know, there's you know, people are buying the painting because they like the painting. You know, they're not
It's a lot more convenient to do acrylic. Cleaning up is so easy, and the drying time.
Yeah,
you can
I
paint
think so.
faster.
Yeah, I certainly think so. I mean, you know, like I said, you know, the good thing about acrylic is that it dries fast. The bad thing about acrylic is that it dries fast. So, yeah, it's, you know, there's advantages and disadvantages, but you're right. You know, as far as, you know, cleaning up, and, you know, working at home in a space, you know, acrylics are actually a great medium because they're not as toxic. You know, they're fairly easy to clean up, you know, with just water. They are harder on your brushes. You'll destroy a brush faster with acrylic than you will with oil. And that's just because it does build up in the rock and it starts to dry, even if it's in water after a while. So
to me, I think I spend 2 or 3 times more doing oil compared to acrylic.
yeah. Well, that's just, you know, that's just a difference in working with the medium, though. You know, oil slows you down because, you know, you get to a certain point and you've got to stop and let it dry. You know, you don't have a choice. You know, with acrylic, you know, if you stopped and let it dry, you know, you're talking about 15, 20 minutes, you know, and you can go back to it again. You can't do that with oil. So
if you put a lot of acrylic paint down, you need to let it dry a little longer than that. If you put a thick layer down.
Well, no, it depends. You know, the thing about acrylic is it will dry really quickly. But what it's dependent on is the temperature and humidity.
Okay.
If it's kind of a warm summer day, that acrylic is going to be dry in 5 minutes. You know, 5 to 10 minutes max. If it's a cold, wet, wintry day, it might take 20 minutes to a half hour. You know, and you know, it's just it's the rate of evaporation. You know, how quickly does the water evaporate out of it? Okay, and it's really not anything more than that. But you know, there's, you know, they handle differently. You know, they're 2 very different mediums. You know, they can both be treated painterly. Both of them can be thinned down to look like watercolor, or, you know, you can do washes and things with them. So, you know, there's not a huge difference, you know, in that sense. But, you know, if you like to work fast and you like to keep, you know, building layer after layer after layer, acrylics are great because they will dry quickly and you can, you know, get in there and work in an area and get something accomplished fairly quickly. With oil, you can't do the same thing. You know, after you get a certain amount of paint down there, you got to stop and, you know, kind of back off and let it dry. And then you can go back in and, you know, manipulate it and work with it some more. Yeah. Let me get, I've got a couple of more pieces to show here, and then we'll kind of wrap this up. Because I want to get, yeah, I want to get Bernice's pieces in here. So here they are. Okay. So Bernice sent these in at the last minute today. So she's
nice, Bernice. Very nice. Okay.
Yeah. So she's added in some more elements to her rainbow, and you know, this is working pretty good. Now, one thing I want to ask you about, Bernice. Okay, you see this texture down here? It seems to be like you're wanting to put grass in there, right?
I think you told me that I need to put something on the edge. You said I need to do something about the edge. I thought you said grass. I don't know.
Right. Okay. But and as far as, yes, a stronger color or value is good, but the size of this in comparison to your pot at the end of the rainbow, that's really big blades of grass.
Okay.
So probably, you know, I mean, keep in mind the scale of it. And it wouldn't be just here. It might be this dark here, and then as it goes back, it gets lighter and lighter until it just kind of fades off.
Okay.
Whatever this is. But it's not just right up here. Okay. You know, because right now it only exists in the front and it kind of flattens this out. And so if this kind of went back and, you know, from the blades of grass that you see because they're closer to us, back to just a green area that was slightly lighter than this, and then it got slightly lighter and faded on off to this gray, then you'd begin to get some depth in there. Okay.
Your flowers are pretty. Isn't you running from the coronavirus?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, that's right. Yeah, I see those kind of running around. Okay.
She's got her mask off.
What did you say, Bernice?
The blue thing behind her, she's throwing her mask off.
Oh,
Oh, okay.
Why is she throwing her mask off?
Because she's running from corona, and she's running toward the flower. If you look at the butterfly center is supposed to be a syringe.
Oh, yes, I see that. Okay. All right. So she's running toward the vaccine.
She's running toward the vaccine, yes.
Yeah, I would advise her to keep her mask on until she got there.
I would too, right?
Absolutely.
So.
But other than that, it's a very pretty picture. Your flowers are so pretty.
Yeah, they
They
are.
are. They are.
Does the woman have a strange proportion?
No, no.
Yeah, right. Okay.
Yeah,
The virus does.
Yeah, she feels. I mean, her shoulders and everything are way up, you know. So she looks like she's jumping or leaping or whatever. But she looks like she's moving and running away. That's good. So, yeah. So I don't think you've really got any problem with that. That reads okay. Let's see. So yeah, my only thing is the grass right in here. Just just kind of fade that color back as it goes, from the dark green, back here, and let it fade on to what it is. It doesn't.
Looks like a mowed lawn instead of wild strips of grass or weeds or something.
Well, yeah, it's pretty much so a manicured lawn here, and then you get into bamboo right there. So yeah. So
you could add more flowers because it looked like petals are coming out on some of them. On the flowers at the grass at the bottom.
Yeah.
You look at each individual. Some look like they've got petals coming out.
Oh well, yeah.
Leaves, and then if you had put the flower on top.
Yeah. Again, I would just make that a lot smaller, and you just sort of suggest that there's a few blades of grass here and there. You don't have to paint every one. And then I wanted to look at this that you sent in.
Yes.
Yeah. And this is with the metallic paint.
Yeah, that was a card someone sent me about 4 or 5 years ago.
Right.
And I liked it, so I said, I should paint that.
Mm-hmm.
I changed a little bit, but not much.
Yeah. Yeah, that's fine. You can always take artistic license. You don't have to copy everything, exactly. And in fact, I like your painting better than the card.
Oh, good.
Me too. Me too.
Yeah, I didn't like the borders being so wide. I like the painting more. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, it's also the contrast. Your borders are lighter, and you've used the metallic paint up there as well. So yeah, I think that works better than the brown, in this particular case. So anyway.
Your her gold seems to shine more than mine did. It's very brilliant.
Well, it looks like she's got
10 coats on it.
Yeah. It looks like she's got two different golds. She's got a brighter gold, and then she's got more of a Renaissance or an antique gold there.
Okay.
So it looks like two different metallic paints right there.
But actually, it looks that way because whatever it's called, the thing in the middle, I did it with a white underground first, and then I put the paint on top of it.
Oh, I see.
You mean on your border?
No, on the symbols.
Oh, here. Okay.
Matter of fact, it wasn't white. It was actually yellow. I painted in yellow.
Okay.
And then the gold on top. So it gives it a different color. And if you put white on the bottom and then paint on top of it, it's a whole nother color.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, okay. I remember that.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So anybody got anything else before we go away?
No, I'm good. Thank you.
Seems like some people have already started going.
Charles,
Yes.
quick question. You said on my clouds there were too many edges. Did you mean like how some of them were the way it was drawn out? It should be rounder or rounded off, or
no? It's where the cloud stops and the sky begins. You've got a real defined edge.
Oh, okay.
And so if while the paint's still wet, since this is oil, if you just took a dry brush and just kind of softened that edge on there,
Okay.
then it would
Okay.
look more like a cloud. Okay.
I got you.
Yeah, clouds do have some hard edges, but they're not hard everywhere. Okay.
Okay. Thank you.
It's just kind of hard, soft going on. Okay. Anybody got any other questions? Anything else we need to talk about before Friday? Come on.
What are we supposed to bring in Friday?
What are you supposed to bring in?
Send in.
Some drawings.
Drawings. Okay.
Yeah, anything you're drawing that you want to talk about, you're having a problem with, anything like that. You know, we'll look at some we'll look at some drawings and things on Friday morning, and then in the afternoon, you know, we'll look at all you guys' work. And I think, well, I'm trying to finish up that PDF that I told you about that I was going to send out to you on how to draw a face, which should kind of give you a good step-by-step, and get you to kind of think about, before you start drawing, exactly, what you're looking at and what you have to pay attention to. Okay.
Did you send that out already, Charles?
I haven't, but I'm,
okay.
Yeah, I'm still working on it to try to finish up so I can send it out to you. Okay.
Okay. Okay.
And I'm trying to do that before Friday so that you'll have a chance to look at it and, maybe you can do something with it. That would be nice.
Yeah.
All right.
All right.
Hey, I have a question for Naomi. Can I?
Sure.
Naomi?
Naomi.
She's here.
Yeah, she's still here, looks like.
Yeah.
Hey, Naomi,
are you awake?
She left earlier. I don't know if she came back.
Yeah, that's fine.
Love that.
Okay.
Did you put it?
I don't see her name. I don't see her name
I
up
see
here.
her name, but yeah.
Oh yeah, there it is. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, that's okay. Sorry.
Yeah. Maybe, who knows? Who knows? Anyway. All right. Well, maybe you can catch her on Friday. So anyhow, all right. So 10 o'clock Friday morning, we'll have the drawing techniques class. And then in the afternoon, we have drawing share. Okay. At 2.
Okay.
So hopefully we'll see you all then. Till then, stay safe. Thank you for coming. And we'll catch up later.
Yep. You be safe too, Charles. You be safe
so
too.
much.
Bye, everybody.
All right.
Thank you.